Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is, are we in the tribulation, or are we about to be in the tribulation? Now, what's the tribulation? The tribulation is the last 7 years just before Jesus returns, and Revelation 6 and Daniel 9:24 tell us what to look for when it starts. Daniel 9:24 says, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week," but there's agreement signed all time. And that might be pretty difficult to distinguish. But Revelation 6:1 says, "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder." Now, according to Ken Peters, that noise of thunder sounded like a 1970s car horn, he said in his dream, some 40 years ago. He said every ear on the earth heard it. It was long, and it was loud, and after it stopped, some, not all, but some of the graves were exploded open. He saw people wearing kind of like choir robes, white, extremely white, brighter than the sun. He said they had kind of a big cloak around their neck. You could tell whether they were male or female. You could tell whether they had lived to full age, whether they had died at a young age. But he says they were all like apparently immature bodies. And he said he saw them walking around the grave for a minute or so, and then they just disappeared. He did not see them float in the air. He did not see any flesh and blood go floating in the air at all. Did not see anything that represents some kind of a pre-trib rapture. At the same time, he said all of the electronics on the whole globe went off about 2 weeks, and then they started slowly coming back on. And of course, the resurrection power to make millions of people pop out of the grave may be what caused the electronics to go off. He also said that he saw that it was like all of a sudden all of the joy left the world. He said it was like everybody looked like they just walked out of their mother's funeral. For that and some other reasons, I do not think that the tribulation has started. I believe that in my prayer closet, the Lord's kind of confirmed to me it has not started. But it certainly appears to be close. So, and I've prayed a lot of times. I can't get God to tell me whether it's starting September 24th or not. But I'll tell you, the Feast of Trumpets is, if it's going to start, because the tribulation starts on the Feast of Trumpets and it ends on the Feast of Trumpets 7 years later. 2,520 days later on the Feast of Trumpets when Jesus returns and splits the sky. The heaven rolls back like a scroll. He uses the morning star to light the earth on fire, destroy the tears, fall to the ground, a pile of ashes and bones. We all get our glorified body and our crowns, our mantles, our rewards, all of them in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye at the last or the seventh trump. Back to the question. Are we in the tribulation? I don't think so. Now, the point of the broadcast today is not to convince you that we're not in the tribulation. But what I am going to say is it appears we are very, very close. And I'm not going to say it's going to start in 2022. I do not know. I honestly, believe me, if I knew, I'd tell you. But I don't know. But I'm going to show you some startling things that shows it is very close. Like out of my 69 years on this earth, I've never seen the kind of fulfillments we are seeing right now. Okay, so let's get on. Revelation 13:15. And he had power, talking about the Antichrist. He had power to give life unto the image of the beast. Now, the image of the beast is probably a half-man, half-fallen angel clone, and it is probably going to be leaked into the quantum computers, the global computer that has all accumulated knowledge of all of the fallen ones, the giants, as well as all of the humans. It'll have everything of everything of everything of everything except what God knows. Power to give life in the image of the beast, that the image of the beast both speak and cause. In other words, he issues orders. As many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Have we seen people on earth grow so angry at Christians that they're about ready to kill them? So that's the first point I want to make. I've never seen it to where people are ready to kill Christians. But boy, it is getting close. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in the forehead. And that no man might buy or sell, save he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, whose number is 666. Now we know what the mark of the beast looks like. We know what the number of the beast looks like, but I'm not getting into that today either. I'm trying to show you that many of the prophecies about the last days are in process of being fulfilled. How Turned Radio Show, this is just today, the things that he's putting up. These are the headlines on his website today. Breaking news, Turkey mobilizing 45,000 reserve troops toward Armenian border. Iran mobilizing army with heavy armor to same area, NATO moving into Moldova. In other words, one of the signs, we'll get to it in just a second, I'll show you in the scriptures, when we get close to the tribulation, there's going to be war. Now, a year ago, there wasn't any war on the planet. I was pretty much at peace. But today we have Russia and Ukraine, and now it looks like Turkey and Armenia and a couple other countries over there are going to war. Swedish media outlet publishes claimed U.S. document outlining how to crush Europe's economy through the Ukraine war effort. So now we openly have nations saying, here's how to crush another nation. All of these are the signs of the tribulation. These things, there's 3 wars that start in the early part of the tribulation. We'll get there. Next headline, Germany seizes Russian gas company Rosneft. Those are fighting words. Okay, when one country seizes a major financial asset of another nation, like their gas company, that's how you start a war. Wars have started on a whole lot less. Chinese President Xi Jinping warns Central Asian neighbors against allowing the CIA color revolutions. In other words, the CIA, as in backed by the American government, which is really in control by the Moloch and Baal worshippers, from time to time, maybe more like all the time, is always starting wars. That's one of the signs to look for in the tribulation. Fire rips through China Telecom building. My guess is that that's also the Moloch and Baal worshippers. See, they attack both sides of a conflict. They attack the north and getting the south to attack the north back. There's a lot of unrest. Next headline, country of Georgia says it's considering military action against Russia. Okay, that would be like Mexico is considering military action against America. Vaccine narrative collapses, Harvard study shows. I can't even say the rest of it because we don't have free speech in this nation anymore. Denmark will bar almost everyone under 50 from receiving more, I can't even say that. Introducing Tropical Storm Fiona. All of these headlines, like I've never seen in my lifetime, all of these headlines are saying we're getting close to the tribulation. So what are some of the signs of the tribulation specifically? World government. Wars, rumors of wars, nations rising against nation, famines, pestilences, like the pandemic, earthquakes in various places. How much of that are we saying today? So let's go to what the Bible says. This is Jesus speaking. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of war. Okay, World War I, World War II. But that ain't nothing what we're seeing today. We're seeing a lot of rumors of wars. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines. Well, right now we're in a famine. As of, June 20, the Feast of Trumpets in 2021 started a famine. We are now in the second year of a 7-year famine. Pestilences, well, we just had a pandemic here. Earthquakes, we're having earthquakes like we've never seen. As a matter of fact, there's a prophecy now there's about to be a big earthquake in France, in diverse places. So if you look at that, have we seen nation rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom? You'd have to say yes. Have we seen famines? Yes. Have we seen pestilence? Yes. Earthquakes? Yes. So he says, when you see all of these, verse 8, these are the beginning of sorrows. Another way to say that, this is the beginning of troubles leading to the tribulation. He didn't say it's the beginning of the tribulation, but he's saying this is what it's going to look like in the early phases. Right now, I can say, I think you'd agree, we're in the early phases. No question. We are in the early phases of the start of the tribulation. It could start September 24th. I don't know that it is, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to be listening with my physical ears and my spiritual ears for that. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, whatever that noise of thunder might be. Armenia invokes Article 4. What is that? Of the CTSO treaty, the world now has a second war front. Now it's not just Russia attacking Ukraine. Now, Wednesday morning, the country of Armenia invoked Article 4 of the Collective Security Treaty Organization, which calls for all member countries to come to the military defense of Armenia as neighboring Azerbaijan commences military attacks against Armenia. Now we have 2 more countries at war. The world now has a second war front after the ongoing Ukraine front. If one of the member states suffers aggression, it will be considered by the member states as aggression. So I looked it up. According to Wikipedia, it says the Collective Security Treaty Organization are the nations of Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan. Now remember, that's where the Moloch and Baal worshippers come from. That part of that, much of that, is in Ukraine, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, and Tajikistan. So we have NATO. We also have the CSTO. We have these groups of nations. That's how you get a world war going. It's not just 2 nations. It's okay. So what happens is like this. Okay, so you and I are buddies. If the bully over here attacks me, will you come help me? Yeah. So then the bully gets another guy and says, well, look, if we get in a fight, you're going to back me up? Yeah, I'm going to back you up. But before long, it's not just 1 against 1. It's not 2 against 2. It's maybe 16 against 18 nations. That's where we're going. So it's another sign that we're getting very close to the tribulation starting. It took me about 20 minutes to make these 2 loaves in my kitchen at an ingredient cost of about $12 each. In a time of food shortage and emergency, I'm going to cut each one of these loaves into 14 slices. Eat a slice in the morning, in the afternoon, I'll be satisfied. You want long-term food storage? You want to cut your food costs? Here it is. Eat 2 whole wheat bread slices daily for about a year for about $800 each. JosephKitchen.com's wheat berries come in a nitrogen-infused 7-gallon pail for long-term storage. Most other emergency food costs about $10,000 per person per year. That's right, about $10,000 per person per year. But at Joseph Kitchen, you could do it for about $1,000 per person per year. Now, to get started at JosephKitchen.com, you're going to need a machines package. That's going to give you the grinder, the bread machine, the knife slicer, all you need to make bread, and then you decide how much food you want to get. You want food 6 people 1 year, 4 people 1 year, 2 people 1 year, or just 1 person for a year, all at JosephKitchen.com. About $1,000 per person per year at JosephKitchen.com. Use the promo code Prophecy Club. Get you a $50 discount. JosephKitchen.com, promo code Prophecy Club for a $50 discount on your first order. Okay, now let's go to the next topic, how Russia is growing angry and threatens war. Now, I talked about this a little yesterday, but I got additional information today. Headline says, serious new development. China publicly supports Russia's actions in Ukraine. So again, now we're seeing it's not just 2 people fighting in the parking lot. They got 2 people on this side, 2 people on this side. And before long, you got 16 nations against 18 nations. Remember what Dmitry was told. God will raise up China, Japan, and many of the nations. They'll go against the Russians. So here we see China and Russia on the same side. But that's not the way it's going to be when Russia finally attacks America. So the article says, this is the head of China's legislature, the chairman of the Standing Committee of National People's Congress. He is number 3 in the rigid hierarchy of the CPC, a very large fish. Mr. Li last week, where was he? Well, he was at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok, Russia. He met and talked with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. What did he say? He also had a key meeting with the Russian State Duma, that's the Russian legislature. Speaker said, and other Duma leaders, and here's what they said, we see that the United States and its NATO allies are expanding their presence near the Russian borders, seriously threatening national security and the lives of the Russian citizens. Therefore, we fully understand the necessity of all the measures taken by Russia aimed at protecting its key interests. Therefore, we are providing our assistance. This is China saying we want to help on the side of Russia. Okay, so this is the two biggest bullies on the block that have put their arms around each other and said, let's go to war all against America and the Western forces. Well, China's President Xi Jinping and Russia's President Putin will have a special meeting on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Next headline, France warns natural gas prices to rise 50%, electricity to rise 1,000% in 2003. Again, these are the things that start wars. It's one thing when everybody is happy and a war starts, but when they are paying 50% higher prices on natural gas, 1,000% higher for electricity, those start wars. For decades, Russia has supplied cheap, plentiful natural gas to most of Europe. But when Russia drew a red line at the idea of Ukraine joining NATO, and when Ukraine began using its army to attack civilians in the states of Luhansk and Donetsk, Russia felt forced to take action. They entered Ukraine on February 22nd is when the war started, to denazify and to demilitarize Ukraine, and that is actually correct. They didn't go in there to steal or rob or kill or rape or plunder. They went in there to remove the Moloch and Baal worshippers, the pedophiles, the sex traffickers, child sex trafficking, and things like that, and the biolabs. For some reason known only to God, France, the rest of Europe, and the United States sided with the Nazi regime in Ukraine and began sanctioning Russia. That's actually correct. No one in the U.S. or European Union would be buying Russian natural gas or oil. So, this forced most of Europe to try to get natural gas from other places. But those other places were already supplying much of the rest of the world. So, when all the new buyers came from Europe, prices skyrocketed. Question: if natural gas is going up 500% in Europe, electricity is going up 1,000% in Europe, what do you think is coming to America? Do you think America is going to escape all this? Today we live in kind of a global world. And as it's been said, when America sneezes, the rest of the world gets pneumonia. Well, it'll affect America to some degree too. All of our oil field in Syria just blown up. U.S. theft of oil from there halted. We want to think that America is the good guy, and we used to be the good guy on the block, but now so many people have turned away from Jesus that we're not necessarily the good guy on the block anymore. He says this is one of the oil fields from which the United States has been stealing Syrian oil. It is not yet clear what caused the series of explosions. My guess is, again, the Moloch and Baal worshippers stirring up trouble. Both Syria and Russia have repeatedly warned the U.S. that they are not authorized to be inside Syria and should leave. But what do? We ignore it. In addition, both Syria and Russia have told the U.S., Israel, and Turkey the theft of Syrian oil must halt. The U.S., Israel, and Turkey have ignored those warnings. The oil field from which they've been stealing oil has now been blown up. Again, probably the Molochs. This is a chart that I drew that explains the book of Revelation. You remember that I got 30 revelations, 2 visions, and an audible voice. The audible voice said, the 7 seals, here you go, play over 7 years and conclude here at the final Feast of Trumpets. The 7 trumpets play over 7 months, again conclude final Feast of Trumpets. The 7 vials play over 7 days, again all conclude the same day. Now, what we're looking at here is, I don't think we're in the tribulation yet. We're out here someplace just before the tribulation. However, when the tribulation starts, when the Lamb opened one of the seals, I heard as it were the noise of thunder, that is going to be the white horse released here. I do not think the white horse is the Pope, as I have said in the past. That's before I memorized the book of Revelation. Then when I memorized the book of Revelation, I got additional revelations and understanding I never had before. How do you know that the white horse is not the Pope or some other demon or something like that? It says, and I looked, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon had a bow, and a crown was given him, and went forth conquering and to conquer. Now, Does God give demons crowns? Think about that. Does God give demons crowns? I think you'd agree, no. He doesn't reward demons. He doesn't give them crowns. So in that the white horse, or the man on the white horse, or the angel on the white horse given a crown, is telling you that this is God's angel. So God sends out an angel. Jesus sends out an angel, and he has a job to do. What is he told to do? He has a bow, and a crown was given to him. He went forth conquering and to conquer, which means when the tribulation starts, that's one of the first things we'll see is war start. Now, war started February 22 of 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. Those are the kind of things that we look for when the tribulation starts. Now we look at the red horse. So I saw another horse, went out, he was red. Power is given him to take peace from the earth, that they should kill one another. And to him was given a great sword. Once again, we see the red horse is, if I can get my mouse to show up here, the red horse is another one of God's angels being sent out specifically to bring judgment on those people of the earth. No, there is no pre-trib rapture. There is no mid-trib rapture. There's never a time somebody gets pulled in the ear so they don't have to be tested. If we get to go to the marriage supper of the Lamb, if we're ready, by that time most of the Christians are going to be dead, and I'll show you where that takes place. That takes place out here, right here. That's about 4 months before the tribulation concludes with Jesus returning here on the Feast of Trumpets. So that's not a rapture. That's not a protection. If you make it to the marriage supper of the Lamb because you are the bride of Christ, because you're ready. Now, how'd you get ready? He's coming back for a glorious church not having spot or wrinkle. Means that you've already been tested. So it's not a pre-trib rapture. It means that you've been tested, you've been found clean enough to get to go to the marriage supper of the Lamb, where he's brought before the Ancient of Days. He is given a dominion, kingdom, glory, and a kingdom. His dominion is an everlasting dominion. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. And when he is crowned, he changes. Jesus changes from being the Lamb of God to become the Lion of the tribe of Judah. He changes from becoming the Prince of the kings of the earth to become the King of kings and Lord of lords. Like Revelation 19 says, and I saw the heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon it is called Faithful and True. And his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his head were many crowns. And he was wearing a vesture dipped in his own blood. It doesn't say that there, but it is his own blood. He had a name which no one knew but he himself. And then later it says, and he had on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That's when he's going down for Armageddon or the Feast of Trumpets to destroy the tares and to light the earth and to give us our crowns, all in the same moment, in the twinkling of an eye. Now, let me get to my point. Okay, so the tribulation starts here in the first 3 seals. I do not think that the first 3 seals open in 3 years. In my opinion, they open boom, boom, boom. They open pretty quickly. I don't know if it's days, weeks, but I'm pretty sure it's not years. It's at the most, it's months apart. They open pretty quickly. Then in the middle of the tribulation, right here, this is where the mark of the beast and the number of his name. This is the mark of the beast and the number of his name. Those are required someplace in here. And then by the time we get out here, just about all of the Christians are dead. Remember in the 5th seal right here? Where 5th seal it says, and I saw on the altar the souls of those who beheaded for the witness of God, that had not, and they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell upon the earth? And white robes given to every one of them, said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, till their fellow servants and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. So that's the 5th seal. Now, in my opinion, that is in the last year, at the most furthest out, about 18 months before Jesus returns. It's out here, somewhere in here. The martyrs. Probably it is associated with this, which is about 4 months before Jesus returns. Probably these are all associated. Okay, so now let's look at the scriptures, what I was just quoting. In Revelation 6:1 is where it says, I heard as it were the noise of thunder. That's when the tribulation starts. Then the first beast goes forth, or the first angel went forth conquering and to conquer. That's the start of war. Then the second one, the red horse, takes peace from the earth. They should kill one another, is giving him a great sword. That's another sign of war. So this is war. This is war. Then you go to the next one. And this is verse 6. It says, a measure of wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny. That's essentially saying that you work all day long for food for one day. In other words, there's no excess. Everything is extremely expensive. Basically, most people at this point are kind of like the slaves in Egypt. Will work for food. They showed up to the Pharaoh and said, I need food, I'll work, and they became slaves. The last thing you sell is your body, your service. And that's what they sold them. And that's a picture of what is happening. And by this time, this is probably the second or third year into the tribulation. But it's talking about high prices. Are we already seeing high prices? Yes, we are. So again, it's got all of the signs saying that the tribulation is just about to start. So Terry Saga with CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. What is going on in the world? Why should they call CornerstoneAssetMetals.com today?
Well, we are having an unusual strength in the dollar. So what that's doing is bringing down the precious metal prices, which is a great buying opportunity. But we have to understand the strength is because the European currency is collapsing below parity and it's getting worse. But what we have to watch indication of is the dollar's not going to absolutely collapse until the euro collapses. So if we see the European currency completely collapse, we got 2 weeks to get our money out of the banking system in the United States. But right now it's not, but it is so weak. Take advantage of it because the dollar strength is incredibly artificial.
CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. Give them a call. Start talking to them today. It didn't cost anything to call. CornerstoneAssetMetals.com. 888-747-3309. 888-747-3309. Now let's talk about water. Cornerstone had a dream, and he said he saw headlines that said, entire communities poisoned through water supply. Reporters were telling people to drink nothing but bottled water or water they knew was not connected to the local water supply. It was affecting both larger and smaller communities. Boiling water was not an effective way of making any water safe. Leslie Johnson had a prophecy back in 2011. She says, the Lord says there's going to be something put into the water supply in many cities of the nation. People will begin to get sick, some will die. Get a good, reliable water filter. You will not be able to trust the tap water or the bottled water. You must get something to filter the water you are going to need. That's back in 2011. So if you want it, we suggest you go to prophecyclub.com. You click right here where it says Berkeys. This is what it looks like. Currently, all Berkeys are in stock. The one I have is this guy right here. It's the Crown. It has 8 filters. I recommend you get as much as you can afford and also recommend you get some extra filters. That's at prophecyclub.com.